Welcome to week 8 here of HGC Korea. We've got 3 weeks left of regular season play. Music stopped real quick right there.
Yes, it was quick.
It is getting tense.
It is getting tense.
We're getting to the end here.
Yeah, week 8, 9, and 10. That will be the over, but not yet. Still on to the same patch with Garage Balance Patch. Next weekend, and the upcoming weekend, we will have a new KT coming into Heroes of the Storm. I'm sure you guys are already enjoying him, as you need the right. I think you need the right fingers to play him, right?
He's definitely pretty hard. It feels like my fingers are a little bit icy and frozen. In fact, when I do try to play him, try and hit those chains together, there's a very high skill cap hero. It feels like feels like his win rate will be quite low in hot slogs. Yeah, because of his difficulty to play. But we'll talk more about him and him coming into the Nexus a little bit later, like perhaps next week or at the end of this week, because this week we will still be on the Garage Balance patch. Sadly, I was really hoping to see some Jaina this week, but we got one more week to wait for that. Maybe people will play Jaina preparing for the Jaina update, the rework, and then we'll see in week 9 those changes to Leoric, Jaina, etc. And then in week 10, our final week, Kel'Thuzad will be legal to play. So usually, historically, that patch is the one that goes to BlizzCon as well. So
I
could
think
be very well like
the one.
At the end of this regular season, we might know where we're headed in terms of what heroes will be available for BlizzCon. So all that's, of course, publicly announced that those are going to be it. Just one more time, Garrosh next week, Kel'Thuzad patch, Kel'Thuzad disabled. Then the following week, Kel'Thuzad will be available for play. So very exciting stuff here, and we'll see how he shakes up the meta. I'm thinking we are going to see some more mages and burst mages, specifically like Kel'Thuzad and Jaina, enter the fray at the end of the season, but only time will tell.
Yep, only time will tell, because right now the meta is still, seems like, especially for Korea, double support, double tank, 1 DPS, 1 assassin, just doing all the work. Actually, they're picking lots of Kharazim as a damage support. So we're seeing a lot of Kharazim, and also Rehgar seems to be rising up after Uther nerfed a little bit, and also Ariel nerfed a little bit. But here's a standing for NA and EU.
That's right. As mentioned before, still MVP Black is the only team that is undefeated in regular league play worldwide, as Fnatic did drop 1 series. But otherwise, Gale Force, Fnatic looking very close to the top. Roll 20 up there as well. Not having their greatest season at first, but definitely closing it out after a few rough weeks, and now up to 8-3, they're in 2nd place. A very exciting story for a lot of people, especially a lot of Korean fans as well, as everyone remembers the Roll 20 game back from the mid-season brawl against MVP Black, where they got rolled more than 20 times.
Yep.
So
22 to be exact.
22.
And never forget, MVP Black learned their lesson in that Spider Queen, sure. And here we go. Korea Black still standing on top with 10-0. L5. Okay, today will be less of a matter for the top tier teams, because Black, of course, going against BlossoM, it should be an easy match for them. But tomorrow there's a huge match between L5 and Tempest. That's going to be the match coming up tomorrow, and it can shake up somewhat in the top second and the 3rd spot. So keep your eyes on that.
yeah, it's not fully set in stone just yet. It is projected this way to finish this exact same way. Here are today's matchups. We'll have Black themselves, as you mentioned, facing off against BlossoM in our first best of 5, and then our second match and final match of the evening. It's the match you've all been waiting for, is to see if Raven will get revenge on RRR, if RRR will take their 2nd match of Phase 2 here against Raven. They did it last time. Can they do it again? That's what everyone's wanting to find out.
Last time it was a 3-0. Can they do it again? Well, let's see. But for now, MVP Black is back with the new meta. Seems like this meta is suiting them very well, especially when Rich is going for the tank role, playing lots of Leoric, playing lots of the other tank role, and seems like this team is pretty set in stone in this meta right now.
Yeah, it's very much a kind of tank-based play that we're seeing from them right now. The Sonya for Rich in the top lane, which is rising up, which rose throughout last weekend especially, is something to look out for when we go into the draft. As you can see here, definitely the key player of MVP Black, especially for last week's matches, was the top lane Rich here. Dahaka, Sonya, and Leoric dominating that series with the 3-1 score there, but it was an exciting way to watch the evolution of Leoric in Korea. Sonya coming back, so many players playing her right now. Is she the counter to Dahaka? not necessarily, but it's definitely been defeating Dahaka in lane a lot of the time recently, even though people were saying going into her return to the meta, it was a tough matchup for Sonya. It feels like that's changed a lot now.
Yeah, it's changing, and Sonya's win rate is crazy, but not only that, Greymane really came back along with ETC. Their win rate is about 70% or more, so it's very interesting to see lots of old heroes really rising on top. Greymane never really banned, but still coming up, but still continuing and rising up on top in the draft first pick almost every single time now.
BlossoM is going to be the underdog in this series. We always have to lead into a series like this with realistic expectations. I think the goal for BlossoM is to take a map. They did it last time they faced off against MVP Black in Part 1 of Phase 2, where they did it with the Cho'Gall game. They were then defeated by Cho'Gall the following game. It was a really fun series. The Infernal Shrines map is one that Black will definitely be keeping their eyes open for in the draft, that potential Cho'Gall. Very unlikely, especially with the Ariel changes, that we will see it, but that's how they did take the map last time these two faced, and something that we do need to remember. Well, they are the underdogs, and I think taking one map would be a great goal for this team going into this series, a realistic goal, and would definitely be valuable because MVP Black has not only a perfect score, but has dropped only 4 maps throughout this entire season. So if No Chat and his team can make it a 5th one, it'll definitely put them in better position compared to the other teams.
Yeah, one of those 4 was from BlossoM on the practice map Cho'Gall. Of course, they will be thinking that that's a possibility coming out again. And this time, Black will go for a 3-up because they are looking for a revenge. But BlossoM, for now, they look very strong against MVP Miracle. They seem to have a trouble against very solo. Very strong tank lines on the other side. I think it will be similar story for Black. They have very strong tanks in the front line. Test always a very strong one, but now even Rich coming into it as a double tank, I think BlossoM may have some troubles against that again.
Well, that's definitely a good way to put it. Is just so good of a front line that it's difficult to actually break into the back and deal that damage. We'll have StarCraft Battlegrounds removed here, Black removing Warhead, and Braxis being removed by BlossoM. We're heading to Dragonshire here as our first game. The map choice was by BlossoM, so MVP Black will be starting with first pick. Interesting, though, that they would choose Dragonshire. It's tough to pick a map against Black, I suppose, that they're bad at, but Dragonshire is definitely one of their better ones. As long as they didn't take BOE, I guess I can be, I could say this is a reasonable pick for BlossoM.
And because since BlossoM picked this map, I can already tell they will be working on... Oh.
Hello.
Mora's there, No Chat's there, Wiz is there, I think. Dutu just disconnected for some reason.
Looks that way.
Yep. One of BlossoM's members is disconnected from the game, so we'll be remaking the room very quickly. Things happen, guys.
Yeah, I have a technical problem myself, actually. You want me to know about it? My pencil ran out of lead, and I know there's one in there, but it won't come out. It's a mechanical pencil. And it's a technical problem. I can't write down the draft without this. What's going to happen? That's why he left the game, because he knew my mechanical pencil won't pop the lead out.
Need a pen?
I think I'm going to have to pull my pen out. Let me go grab that. All right. Here we go. I got the pen and everything. But now if I make a mistake in the draft, I can't erase it.
Wolf.
Technical problems, man, they happen in esports. Sometimes you have a sudden disconnect from the lobby. Sometimes you run out of lead in your mechanical pencil.
And now Mora is pretty upset. He was about to get into the game. He was so excited, and he's like, "Oh, I have to wait for another minute."
He's been looking like that all day. We're gonna take another shot of his unhappy demeanor today.
Oh, Rich saw something in chat for sure.
Rich has been having a good time.
What are you saying to me?
Rich, like, you said you could beat me in top lane. What'd you say?
That's a good point, actually. BlossoM picking this map means they will be focusing on Rich's heroes, because he's been having such strong, favorable for MVP Black all the time. I think BlossoM they had to bring some kind of plan against Rich, especially because Dragonshire, that top lane war, if you lose that entire game, even your bottom, even your mid lane is very pressured. Okay, they're rebooting the computer, so maybe just a few more minutes. Maybe?
I'm rebooting my pencil. It's not. I think it's stuck, man.
Used to take longer. Remember the days with only hard drives? Now we have solid state drives in all computers.
Oh well, most computers.
Oh,
I have 2 in mine, but personally, but yeah.
yeah. Always install your Windows and SSD. It's so much better.
It's way better, man.
So much better.
You remember waiting to
all the
boot up
games
computers? I
for
don't.
a minute.
I don't remember that. You remember Windows
Long time ago.
95, where like the computer
Windows
makes all
95.
these weird sounds, and it's like.
Remember a long time ago where if you're connected to the internet, you can't make a phone call because you're connected to the net, or if you get a phone call, you lose a connection. That was a long time ago, guys.
Who else remembers? Who else? Like, raise your hand if you were playing a StarCraft game on Battle.net and your mom wanted to call like your sister-in-law, and then you lost the game.
J-Clef, I have to make a phone call. Stop playing games. Okay, mom.
Lost
Yeah,
the game,
that was a
man.
long time ago.
I was like, he was floating his buildings. I already won. He was like floating the barracks in the corner of the map, and then like my mom picks up the phone and it's all over, man.
Connected.
And then suddenly you just see the screen that says it's counting down, waiting for players, but you know the truth. You know he's actually waiting for you. You're not waiting for him. He's pressing the drop button. Your drop button isn't real.
He knows your phone number.
All right. Well, I suppose we're gonna get that computer rebooted because we have SSDs. It probably won't take too long.
Yeah, it shouldn't take too long, but rebooting the system, going into Windows, opening the Battle.net account, logging in, opening Heroes of the Storm, going back, inviting him into the room. That takes a while.
You know, it'll take a little bit of time.
Maybe
Logging
a
in the
minute
Battle.net
more.
client, check his authenticator. Authenticator's not working. Let's check it again. He goes in, he logs in, and then right before he's go to the lobby, he's like, "Hold on, I want to check my loadout." He goes into his collection, spends some shards. Then he goes into the lobby, and then Rich drops, and then we just reboot the computer. And we'll be here for a while.
We'll be here for a while. And today, we were expecting today to be a long day, but seems like we're already having some troubles from the beginning of the match today.
Certainly, but we'll get into it eventually.
Eventually. I know you guys do not want to see our faces too long, and this camera is just stuck to us. We want to change the screen too, but it's not up to us, you know.
Well, I mean,
We can only do so much.
I think you have a wrong assumption. I think people do want to see our faces. I think that you are assuming they don't want to see our faces for some reason.
Maybe only one of us. Who is it gonna be?
Well, it's definitely me, but I mean, like, you already gave up on that one. You said they didn't want to see our faces. They want to see our faces, G-Clef. So what'd you eat today for breakfast?
I skipped breakfast.
Me too. Good choice.
Yes, no cereals today.
No. You know, King, one of our analysis commentators, he eats 2 meals at every meal.
Every single meal.
He eats 2 meals every
He
time.
eats 1 liter of coffee every single
That's
time.
right, 1 liter of coffee. I'm close to that. I'd show you guys my coffee, but, you know, sponsor logos and things
Yeah,
like
we
that.
can't do that.
Can't do that. But he gets a liter of coffee.
Every single
Like,
time.
you know the 2-liter bottles of soda that you sell in the U.S., because I know a lot of American viewers right now, the 2-liter bottle of, like, Sprite or, like, Diet Dr. Pepper that your dad drinks for some reason. And then imagine half of that.
That's so true.
It's so true. Like, some reason your dad drinks Dr. Pepper, the Diet Dr. Pepper. Why does he drink the Diet one
And then
when
he
he
eats
does?
and then he eats a carton of donuts for some reason. Like, why do you drink Dr. Coke,
Well, I'm just
Dr.
saying.
Pepsi and donut together?
It's
Just
pretty gross. It's weird. I don't know why Dad does that, but he does. But about half of that, he drinks that every time. Sometimes he drinks 2 liters of coffee. Sometimes he drinks the whole 2-liter bottle. All right, we got the whole 2-liter draft set up here to go.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to go jump in. I think I'm exhausted already from too much talking.
All right, so let's jump into this draft. My pen is operational, and that's what we were really waiting for as we head into Dragonshire.
Yes. Let's finally switch our gear into Heroes of the Storm. ETC, it's not a bad choice from the start, but of course Ariel is open. Ariel was banned 11 times just last weekend.
That's a bit of an
Only from Korea.
Bit of an odd choice to hover the ETC this early on this map specifically, unless they want to run a comp that's really strong in the laning bottom part of the map. So ETC is kind of a throwaway ban. They're going to look for the strong S tier first pick, but they want to draft around having large amounts of sustain in the bot lane. So they're going to have that going for them. One of the soft counters to that in the meta right now is the ETC, because when you go deep in lane and you're trying to pressure those cannon towers, then ETC comes in and power slides you and ruins your day. So very strong hero against those Ariel Vala comps, for example. I think BlossoM has to ban Ariel here on this map. I think it's just too much of a liability to give it over to MVP Black.
Ariel did drop down in win rate, especially in EU and also in Korea, but not too much. Still considered as a very strong support. If given, I think Black will just insta-pick for sure. So I think BlossoM has to ban the Ariel or leave everything open if they want to.
It's a very big risk if they want to do that. They're counting down to 0 on this one. Maybe the Garage ban. Okay.
Ooh.
So Ariel's available, and of course they take it.
There
feels
was
so
no
obvious.
question to it.
It feels so obvious. They ban the ETC. And now I think that BlossoM, if they don't take Tassadar Vala here, this is going to be a bad time for this team on Dragonshire.
What were they thinking in terms? Let's see what they pick here. To give Ariel to Black, and for what? Greymane Uther, Greymane plus Rehgar. Of course, this meta, it's very important. Greymane, by the way, just last weekend from Korea, is 9-4, 69% win rate.
69.
It's insane.
He has a very high win rate, and he started at one of the lowest at the beginning of Phase 2, and he's skyrocketed. He was at something like a 30% win rate through the beginning of Part 1 here in Korea. All right, I mean, BlossoM clearly is very much undecided as to what they want to do. Zarya. That's a one way to deal with a sustain, so okay.
Okay, they've already revealed their card.
Yeah, I can get behind this, though. This is a very good way of dealing with the 4-man that Ariel provides with really good sustain. They had to take the Vala, and I was worried based on how long they were waiting to draft this that they had something a little bit crazier planned here, but this is going to just be a standard way to threaten the level 1 pressure, ruin the lane, swap them, so that it's not just MVP Black destroying you in the 4-man in the bot lane. You at least get something out of the top lane. You hard pressure Rich in the top lane if he goes there, if Black just tries to play standard.
Ooh. This looks scary already. Greymane taken from Black, along with the Haka, seems like Rich will be even focusing on the global when he wants to push the lane. Maybe BlossoM's thinking about swapping lanes?
They definitely are, and I think that's why Dahaka's chosen here, because now Black can deal with that level 1 lane swap and get soak, and then teleport back when BlossoM tries to swap the lanes down somewhere else after their initial level 1 push. That's when Rich doesn't lose any experience because he has a global, and he has really good wave clear. If you had him on Sonya in this case, he wouldn't be as effective at making sure they could keep the experience even while also finding some structural damage with the Ariel pick. So this is definitely like a one thing leads to another type of draft.
Yeah.
BlossoM picks the Zarya, so they pick the Dahaka. They pick the Zarya because of the Ariel, and it's a very back and forth draft right now.
So weird decisions coming out from BlossoM, because Zarya is not going to be picked from the other side, very unlikely, not going to be banned either. So I don't think Zarya fits on the top spot for BlossoM. I think that was a little weird choice. Also from what our writers said today, that it used to be Dutu who was doing draft, but today Mora is doing the drafting for BlossoM. So maybe that's a little bit of a change for BlossoM. That's why we're seeing Zarya Vala from the beginning.
I think it's really strong, though. It's not something that you would see normally on this map against another composition, but against the Ariel, I think that it provides you with extra pressure in the early game. It helps you deal with you're always going to lose that 4-man if you just play it straight up against an Ariel, if it's Ariel Vala especially. So they took the Vala away, and even if it's Ariel Greymane, it's tough to deal with, but Zarya gives them options. So supports are removed here, so as it is right now, BlossoM's still missing a healer. With the top tier ones now out of the picture, the question is, what is that going to be? Karazim for the extra damage you were talking about, definitely a possibility to try to force out Aegis early for Ariel. And otherwise, I mean, it could even be a Stukov, would not be crazy.
BlossoM did use Stukov. It was, I believe they lost the game, but still the silence came in, and it was very effective. Seems like they are going all in Vala here, as Lucio, I don't think, will be the only support for BlossoM.
Very unlikely. Feels like it's going to be a Karazim to round this one out. Zarya is somewhat of a tank. You know, it's not really... It's not like it's solo tank Tyrael and that they need another tank. They would rather have another healer. So the big question is who's going to be the solo lane for BlossoM. The answer to that is kind of that they are trying to avoid that entirely. That's why they're going to lane swap at level 1 and then force Rich to go to the bot lane solo and then come back up. That's why the Dahak is very strong against this.
And just have quick rotations with the speed boost coming out from Lucio.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what the plan is, at least for the early game. Eventually someone will be in the solo lane. Maybe it's Zarya, maybe it's Tyrael.
It sounds okay, but they will be losing experience because we already see the Dahak agreement on the other side. Lots of wave clear coming from Black, so they will also pick up Genji for the kills.
Mobility on both of these heroes.
And then Muradin for the gank ability with the CC. They needed some more CCs.
Can interrupt the rotations as well very safely, slow everybody and dismount everybody while Dahaka's getting the extra soak. The comp is weak overall in terms of team fighting because there's no secondary support for Greymane. Genji doesn't have an empowering invincibility ultimate to keep him alive like a Sanctification or a Divine Shield, Sound Barrier. There's no way to really power a Dragon Blade. But at the same time, if Black gets ahead enough in scaling, gets Heroics first, they can snowball the game, use their mobility to capture Dragon Knights, and I think that is going to be the plan for Black overall, and I think they know exactly what BlossoM has planned. Question is, what's going to be the last support here, or will they go rogue in terms of their composition? They will take a secondary support here in Tastar for the Vala. This is all in on the Vala. It's as all in as it gets. It is going to be a roaming 4-5-man, disastrously powerful, damaging comp, but that's why the Dahak is here, to slow down those rotations, the swap that we're going to see early on in the game, the early level 1 push we're going to see with Zarya. These things, MVP Black has some of the answers, but this is definitely going to be a tough early game. This is not your everyday composition that we're seeing out of BlossoM. Very powerful what they are bringing to the table with the early Zarya picks. Feels very Ballistics-esque from back in the fall season of 2016. We're going to go, guys, into game number 1, Dragonshire for MVP Black versus BlossoM. In blue, MVP Black. Reset on Genji. Sake on Greymane. Coach on Ariel. Rich on Dahaka. And Tist on Muradin.
And in red, BlossoM. Wiz on Tastar. Gondar on Lucio. Mora on Tyrael. Tutu on Vala. And no chat on Zarya.
Let's see where they send everybody at level 1. Zarya is already heading bot.
Seems like Tyrael top and this 4-man rotation mid and bottom.
So not going to swap, actually, at least not initially here. And in fact, don't get anything done with Zarya. So that's already a pretty bad start. MVP Black played it safe and split up into bot and mid. When they scouted no one was going top, they just made it that way.
And also, the BlossoM, usually when they pick this kind of team comp with lots of shielding, they, from level 1, they sneaked to the bottom and try to destroy towers all the time. Yeah. So I think Black, knowing that, they split it apart and try to defend everything.
Exactly, and now, you know, it looks like Black swapped lanes initially, expecting this 4-man top, and actually it's just not the case. So that's why you see Wiz up here solo. There's 3 top, and meanwhile, BlossoM actually wins this pretty hard. They get all the extra experience bot and mid faster to like rotate down and threaten the bot lane. And look at this, even zoning Sake out of experience range here on the last of those minions. You can see he wants those last 2. Is going to go over and sneak to get them, but they're trying to zone him out. Does get them there with the cocktail. But it's little things like this at the highest level that actually matter a lot in the early game. And things will normalize eventually now. As you can see, it's a solo lane top. And it is going to eventually be the 3v3 bot with the mid rotations, the 1-1-3. But for the early game, BlossoM got a slight lead because the Black had to respond. BlossoM could have gotten further ahead had they actually committed heavier, but they knew that Black was likely to know what they were doing, and because of that, Black got slightly behind because of their choice to commit to the defense.
Ooh, nice defensive shot calling there, but seems like one is caught, and Zarya will be the first kill, going to MVP Black. But nice timing of having Dehaka coming down. BlossoM was extending a little bit, and they also realized they were going a little too deep and saying Dehaka is coming down and Gang is possibly coming. So good timing of falling back. They lost one members, but I don't think that's going to cost them too big now. And so far, so good for BlossoM also.
Definitely still a decent position for them. Wiz is struggling up here, obviously, in the top lane for the time being. He's playing secondary support in this case because he is the top laner, and that's what he's going to be doing with the Tastar. That's the goal here. As Mora is not as experienced as as him in the top lane. He was, of course, the top laner for Tempest, and he was often a Tyrael top laner back then with the with the Tyrael he's playing currently in this game. But he's going to play it safer here in the mid lane. And Tastar has better wave clear. Another good rotation down from Black. They're zoning out for a moment, but already Wiz is going to retake the top shrine. As Tastar, so still not going to be an unleash possible. And really good plays here so far by Gondar, actually, with this Lucio. He's avoided so many stuns already using Lucio's Q to displace Muradin, so he can't actually get those Storm Bolts.
Do you think it was a perfect choice to have Tastar up there instead of Tyrael?
I think right now it's not giving them the impact that they're looking for.
Ooh,
so he actually will die. He used his Dimensional Shift on the Shrine, and in fact, because he wanted to commit, not only does he die, but they lose the Dragon Knight. But yeah, going back to your point, I don't know if it really has been worth it, because Tastar can't contest the Shrine like a Tyrael can. He can't squat, as we call it, where you just sit there and make sure that they can't actually complete the channel. Oh, this is starting to be a disaster. But yeah, I mean, Tyrael definitely can't do, or sorry, Tastar can't do what Tyrael can to delay the shrine.
Yeah, just like this, Tutu has the fault. Oh, Wild Genji appears, and that's reset.
It's reset for you. That's going to be another kill.
Because Tastar has been missing, if the shield goes onto Vala, Vala can also heal herself. With the shield coming out from Tastar, I think that could have been a lot more worth for Tutu, especially because Tutu was poked and damaged several times. Lucio's healing is not burst.
Yeah, basically Vala needs that extra sustainability, whether it's through a Tastar or through a Ariel. The Zarya shields will help protect her and keep her alive.
Only for a few seconds.
Yeah, but for a few seconds only, and doesn't actually end up healing her. It's protection and not actually sustainability. And oh, Gondar gets greedy here. He was never going to be able to steal that cap. They do have a fort to back off to. So it's not going to be more than that, but Black has run away with this game already.
So I think to finish the question, to continue answering, I think that was a little mismatch because Vala, when she's low, she cannot do any damage. Basically, BlossoM's damage relies on Vala alone right now. And I think Tastar should have been with Vala instead and Tyrael top. I think that was a better choice. For now, BlossoM did what they did, and it's 10-7. I think it's about time to go back now.
Okay, Avatar is used here for Test. Aegis will keep him alive as well. Doesn't get his passive while he's in Aegis, but he will get it in just a moment here. So we do see the commitment to kill Dudu. He's very low. Very, very low. And that is going to be the survival of the Vala. But look at the top lane. Rich is dominating. He's 3 levels ahead in scaling, which is enough of a problem already that they have heroics. But now it's going to be the double camp after they got the night camp. And BlossoM is just going to have to sit back and turtle right now. There's just no way they can contest any objectives. They have to accept that the entire map will be taken by MVP Black, all of it. And there's no way to reasonably contest. The reset just Dragon Blade by accident? I
don't think he accidentally did it. He wanted more damage and dashes.
Okay. Well, he Dragon Bladed a minion wave and then almost got a kill, so I guess I can, like, say it's alright.
And they're leading crazy at the moment, so I think he was not actually being greedy. I think he was looking for a chance to actually get a kill. It was worth it because they were taking the camp and really having the pressure off of Tyrael, not giving him any vision of what was happening was needed.
Alright, double channel here means an unleash. And unfortunately for Black, it means that they don't get their minion camp first. They lost theirs. Still neutral. Everything else is taken on the map. They didn't get their night camp in time, but that's okay. I don't think that was the goal. The goal here is to get an early keep before level 10 is ready. Mora very far overextended. Will find himself kicked back. And even though he out-druins here, he's taking a lot of damage. Does buy some time, as Rich can come in at any moment. Just trying to help them reach level 13 at the moment. He's pushing mid. His Dragon Knight is not that heavily scaled because we're only at 7 minutes into the game now. Even though it looks like Black is massively ahead in this game, could end at any moment. It's still like not that powerful of a Dragon Knight, so you have to be careful and conservative.
Meanwhile, Tastar has been pushing it this entire time. Just because of the charge. Will dive in and Bala. Oh no.
No protection without the Tastar there for the burst damage that's coming in. And it just feels like this comp never... It was designed to outlane MVP Black, and it never happened the way they wanted it to do. They didn't actually swap lanes like we were so sure that they would, like every other Zarya comp is designed to do. And now they're just falling apart. Oh, that was not the best expulsion zone of HGC Korea 2017. But
maybe just for his own protection. I think maybe this worked in Scrim, who knows, but against MVP Black, I think you have to have a few better decisions about laning. And it really starts from level 1 when you make that decision to distribute who on which lane. I think Black really topped that from the very beginning moment, and
yeah, you
4 levels ahead now.
When they did it at level 1, it was like, ooh, maybe they got a little bit behind. They played too safe. But they really respected the composition that BlossoM has chosen, even though it's not standard, even though it feels obvious what they might be trying to do. Black took it very seriously. They did not play greedy in the early game. And then when it was Tassadar top, they baited out his dimensional shifts often. They contested the shrine at perfect timings when he didn't have dimensional shifts, so they could actually get those Dragon Knights. And when BlossoM had to fight over it, they were not prepared to do so with this composition because Bala was only half a Bala. You know, there wasn't a Tassadar there to actually help her heal. And so they lost those fights. They lost Dragon Knights. And the result here is not too shocking, all things considered, that MVP Black would be 6-0 with the laning decisions BlossoM has made so far. Reset's such a good Genji player, just maximizing damage while being at safest possible range. We gotta think of a name for how Koreans use
alone
that.
on the side. Oh my, that positioning.
Not
mistake.
The way you want to be. What should we call that when Dragon Blade comes out and Reset does a little dip thing that he does? Should we call it
Reset? Reset things.
We should just call it the Dragon Dance, man. Just dancing with the Dragon Blade. As Reset and Hong Kono does it as well. They have like this similar ducking pattern they do when they use the Dragon Blade.
Seems like BlossoM's not having their day today overall. From laning, individual mechanics, timings of shields. It's very off from what we've been seeing so far in game number 1. Maybe they just need some time to warm up, and by that time game 1 could be over. Maybe it can still carry on to game 2. I hope they can get things back together right now. It seems pretty hard in game number 1, but starting from game number 2, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, this Dragon Knight is going to march directly to core. Black just wants to make this a perfect game. They have lost no objectives. They have lost no forts, no cannon tower walls. And if they end this game right now without losing a single member, it will be another perfect game for them. I think they're 4th of the season. And it is definitely not looking good for BlossoM right now. They can't contest the Dragon Knight. It's Rich inside the Dragon Knight, so even if he was denighted here, he is Tahaka. He could do so much when he pops out. And this looks to be just the end of this first game. Nothing that BlossoM can do.
Doing so much damage onto the core, and that's game 1.
So they win it. 4-level lead. Perfect game. In less than 10 minutes, if I am not mistaken.
I think it was perfect camp control too. Basically everything perfect.
Yeah, I don't think they actually lost a single camp either. Like, perfect game in Heroes is always defined as not losing any forts and not losing any members, although, you know, in other games it's about objectives as well. But this was, it's called in other MOBAs, a perfect game in terms of losing 0 objectives and never at one moment basically having any lost control of any part of the map. So the draft there was supposed to, it looked like at the beginning, to be a 4-man top rotation while they have Tastar rotating between mid and bot to try to soak that experience, to force Black to send Tahaka bot or whatever Rich was going to be, because they didn't know he was going to pick Tahaka until he locked it in. But Black didn't send anyone anywhere. They split up in between mid and bot and had one member always ready to go top, which is Rich, right? And he's a global, so he can go top if needed to be. and then buy time there. And then they just simply tried to sustain a gray main comp without Tassadar being in lane because he was top, as you mentioned, instead of Tyrael.
Yep.
Tyrael, what did he really provide? He gave shields sometimes, but they were always losing bot.
To the minions?
Yeah, and every time they were losing bot, every time that was channeled, that's when Genji was trying to bait out those dimensional shifts, and the Tassadar can't squat the top trying to buy time. So they knew those timings. Okay, they're pushed in bot. I'm going to go try to kill Tassadar. If I fail to get the kill, it's okay because I'm going to get the shrine for a moment, and boom, that's when Murden, Tisk goes in mid, channels the Dragon Knight. It was really well coordinated by MV Black, and they know how to deal with the strap, so I hope that in the future, BlossoM avoids kind of this type of tactic moving into the laning phase.
And Dehaka was